that's very distributed, and you do it fine. If, however, you're full of anger and unprocessed emotion, and you try that experience and go into the pent, it's called being spaced out. It means you come back scrambled eggs. In effect, your aura is fractionated, and you have very great difficulty pulling yourself back together. So it's true. It's as dangerous to die as it is to enter a dodecahedron. But in both cases, it's useful if you understand how to begin becoming a shareable wave, perfectly distributed awareness, which is an electrical definition of what you call the divine, a perfectly branched electric field. So I would suggest that there's a whole field of astral hygiene that was somewhat missed in Drunvalo's tradition. He's a sweet guy, and he's a great storyteller, and he's an old friend. We just add another layer of meaning to that as electrical engineers. Yes?
Yes, I have two questions. First one, how do you make a map of your bed? That's the first one. And the second one, when you mentioned about the king has the gold
crown, yes.
Crown. Can you talk about the monoatomic gold?
A magnetic map of your bed means you learn how to dowse, in short. And in my view, if you cannot feel a magnetic line, I'm looking here. Okay, I got something here. Okay, there's a magnetic line in this building, and it's here. Here's one of them. I suggest later you try this. So, in general, if you cannot feel a magnetic line, it is my opinion that you cannot feel. Do you see why? Your blood is designed to grow up and bend a magnetic line. Only love bends the light, therefore only love creates. You get the feeling. So, you do need to learn how some basic dowsing works. You don't have to play with rods and all the pendulums if you don't. That's minor. But to be able to feel it, you actually feel a little charge, a little presence, a little tingle when you relax. You're actually feeling the river of magnetism called, magnetism is the wind on which love travels, the blood of God, Sante, whatever you want to call it. It is, in fact, the mechanism of the collective unconscious. And you need to be able to feel that magnetism. So, you get a little geobiologist, dowser, feng shui, whatever you want to call it, but eventually you need to have a sense of what the magnetic pattern is in your bedroom. And basic dowsing is essential for every human who wants to evolve, in my opinion, because that's how you feel the larger world of plasma, which is the mind of God. Truly. So that's interesting. And ultimately, we have all these examples in our literature. I suppose I should illustrate examples of simple magnetic maps, Introduction to Dowsing 101, Geobiology. Valerie, my partner, is doing translations for the advanced geobiologists of Europe. Here's some examples of this is a magnetic map of a house. This is a magnetic and microwave map of Chartres. This is a magnetic and microwave map of a small town in Germany and Austria. There are many examples. There's advanced work. They actually know which frequency most bends the Hartman, Curry, Pei palm lines, etc. So advanced geobiology is a fascinating subject. We do lots of courses on it. I suggest you might want to get interested. Your second question was?
About the monatomic gold.
Right. Those gold cups are a bioactive electric field, a phase conjugate dielectric or fractal field. They're a metabolic accelerator. When a king puts on a gold crown, we studied the physics of the gold crown we're in Budapest, I think. It makes a strong centripetal phase conjugating dielectric. That will have the effect of accelerating the metabolism of the king. Now, if he's relaxed, he can withstand that acceleration of his own metabolism, and it will speed up the rate of his thinking, become centripetal. However, if that king is full of anger and unshared emotions, it's going to drive him more rapidly insane, for sure. So it is a test device electrically, which is going to find out if he can stay in the middle of a bolt of lightning without getting burnt. Another definition of Kundalini. It's just an introduction to the movie Powder, more metaphors than we can do here. But you get the flavor that basically the gold, therefore, is creating an electric field which is centripetal, and at the center of that field exists a meeting point for lots of living biologic plasma. So the chemistry of gold powder, this is a related story. You know, the gold atom is put in a phase conjugate dielectric like the Ark of the Covenant, becomes stable as a mono atom, and it's the yellow, it turns to white and becomes soluble in water and blood, and it's served as Holy Communion. It's the origin of, you know, so many myths in history and addictions. Natural biologic sources are very useful, like the deep sea water, Barry Carter stuff, very useful. But the actual pure chemical sources of the gold powder, like David Hudson, are actually quite dangerous. And we could go into that, but you actually feel the memory of the source of the material. Yes?
So drinking the colloidal gold is not recommendable?
Colloidal gold, like colloidal silver, in short, very careful small doses can, of course, be bacteriostatic when you have certain infections. It must be done very carefully because it's quite dangerous to the liver and other things. Now, these biologic sources of the ormes, like materials like this caustic seawater, they put a strong alkaline in deep sea water and they filter out this milky like ormes emulet. It's gorgeous, gorgeous stuff, very useful for agriculture, powerful, wonderful. And the physics of how it got there is any biology that makes a fractal molecularly is creating a centripetal force that can serve all of biology. And deep sea water is just an introduction. How the aloe product, the mucilaginous long molecular chain aloe, became mannatech, which is another rhodium, iridium, ormes emulet, is a beautiful biologic example. So the point is that your molecules are going to remember how those molecules got squeezed into a fractal. You're going to taste the memory of the machine that made it. Why you pay more for a wood-heated pizza than a microwave-heated pizza? Because the source of the heat needs to be fractal. Just like the source of the light in your children's classroom needs to be fractal, or you will not have attention span. Next question. Any other comments? Yes, thank you. Yes?
Nassim Haramein says that there's a cube octahedron at the center of space-time.
That's right, he does say that.
And also he's worked out when you put twist to the space-time manifold, there's and it goes a step further than Einstein's field equations. You can get formulas that indicate that there actually is a cube octahedron in the center.
You know, Nassim is beautiful. He started his career with the stellated tetra, which the cube octa is a stellated tetra. And then later, and actually I think I helped nudge him in that direction, he finally realized that if you compress, the cube octa becomes ecosa. And he and I both agree that that's how superconductivity happens. So actually, you know, at the center of the cube octa stellation, once that's compressed, the jitterbug, is the physics of superconductive. And the ecosa dodeca is clearly, I mean, physics can hardly disagree that if you map the geometry of interstellar masses, you clearly show the universe as a dodecahedron. That's well known. And the reason the universe's interstellar masses are a dodecahedron, nature says the universe is dodeca, a new scientist says it's fractal, but dodeca is the perfect fractal. But neither magazine knows why the universe is fractal and dodeca, and that's because that's the only way you make gravity. And the reason is because ecosa dodeca is the only way you make golden ratio, which Nassim agrees is how you make black holes. So we have a slight difference in language, but we're on the same track, actually.
So does this model of yours fit into some time-space manifold concept?
As I said, time is only a name for rotating charge, and space is the name for the diameter of that rotating charge, and mass is the name for the inertia of that rotating charge. So time-space, in my view, is the jello of charge waves. Very simple. And that jello only stores inertia, which is to say makes gravity, when it gets fractal. So, you know, I'm just emphasizing from the start that golden ratio is actually how all centripetal forces, and therefore gravity, happen. How else could you explain what is obvious, that the universe is dodecahedral? For a specific reason, and that is that's the only way you could make the gravity to hold it together. So, on that note, was that a happily ever after? Thank you, everybody. So, actually, Ian made a fabulous series of DVDs. Our DVD there is, the one is a beautiful summary of the technology, and the other is a great summary of the science. So those sets he made are some of our best teaching tools. We have a few others up here, but that is the main one. So thank you very much if you're interested in more. And there's